The sun was just beginning to rise over the sprawling city, casting a warm glow on the glass buildings that pierced the sky. Jordan stood outside the tall steel structure of the Evergreen Technologies headquarters, clutching a briefcase in one hand and a steaming cup of coffee in the other. It was the beginning of what he hoped would be a very big day. He glanced at his watch. The important meeting was in less than an hour. There was a lot riding on this. His heart raced with anticipation and a hint of anxiety. Today he would pitch his groundbreaking idea to the board, a venture he believed could take the company to new heights. With every sip of coffee, he tried to soothe his frayed nerves. As he made his way toward the entrance, a flash of color caught his eye. There, on the ground at his feet, lay a keycard bright red, glimmering in the morning light. He stopped, looking around to see if anyone was nearby. The usual morning hustle was underway, but no one seemed to notice it. It was strange, an odd piece of litter in what should have been a polished environment. Curiosity got the better of him. He picked it up, feeling the smooth plastic between his fingers. Jordan didn't know an Amanda Jenkins, but he felt a pull to return it. He looked up again, pondering what sort of access this tiny card could grant. An icy tingle ran down his spine at the thought of the doors it might open or close. As he walked toward the entrance, he noticed a small group of journalists gathered just outside the front doors. A microphone poked through the crowd, capturing the attention of those passing by. Some were busy snapping pictures, while others stood with notebooks, ready to capture any breaking news. Jordan felt a surge of unease rolling over him as he remembered the last few weeks of drama surrounding the company. Recent news had been less than flattering, with rumors of scandals swirling. He brushed off his unease, reminding himself that he had a job to do. He needed to focus. But something about that keycard didn't sit right with him. Should he leave it with security? Would anyone even care? After a moment's hesitation, he decided to take a closer look at it. Suddenly, a shout rang out from the crowd. Jordan. It was a reporter yelling his name, their eyes wide and expectant. Jordan's heart sank. He didn't want to be the center of attention, not today. He had a big meeting. He couldn't afford distractions. Ignoring the calls, he hurried toward the building, but time seemed to slow as he stepped into the lobby. The glossy floors reflected light, and he could see his own anxious face staring back at him in the polished surface. The receptionist, Lisa, greeted him with a warm smile. "Good morning, Jordan." "Yeah, I think so," he replied, forcing a smile but still clutching the keycard tightly in his fist. He hesitated for a moment, contemplating whether to hand it over to her, but the moment slipped through his fingers. Today was too big. He couldn't afford to be distracted. Taking a deep breath, he moved toward the elevators. The tension in the air was palpable. As the elevator doors slid open, another rush of voices erupted from outside. The media had caught a whiff of something, and they wanted to know about it. Would they find out about his idea? Would they ask him questions? He pressed the button for the top floor, trying to ignore the clamoring sounds. The doors closed, and he watched the numbers above his head change, counting down the floors. The elevator dinged softly as it reached the top. With determination, he stepped out into the corridor. Just as he reached for the door to the boardroom, he felt a surge of doubt. What if this wasn't the right moment? What if he miscalculated? He glanced back at the keycard in his hand, a strange weight in his pocket. A voice broke through his internal turmoil. It was Frank, his mentor and one of the board members. "You've got this." "Thanks, Frank," Jordan replied, but the unease remained. Frank's encouragement had always calmed him, but today felt different. With a nod, Frank turned to head into the meeting, but Jordan lingered. He glanced at the keycard again, and without thinking, he slipped it into his pocket. Perhaps it would make sense later. For now, he had to keep his focus. The conference room was grand, with dark wood panels and a long, polished table. As he walked in, he was greeted by serious faces, each member waiting for him to deliver his pitch. He felt the weight of expectation resting on his shoulders, and he could sense their eyes on him, judging, measuring, calculating. With shaky hands, Jordan set his briefcase on the table, opening it carefully. He pulled out his notes and spent a moment arranging them. He took a deep breath, finding his center. He could do this. "Good morning, everyone," he began, his voice steady. As he spoke, his confidence began to rise, filling the room with energy. He recounted the research, the development stages, and the projections. Faces transformed from skeptical to intrigued, but just as he reached the climax of his pitch, a sharp knock escaped the conference room door. The tension in the room shifted, everyone turning to face the entrance. Did someone interrupt? Who could it be? The door swung open, revealing one of the PR staff. "Excuse me, Jordan." Their expression conveyed urgency. Jordan's heart raced again. A situation, what could it be? The board exchanged glances, a mix of concern and confusion flickering in their expressions. He asked, trying to maintain his composure. "It's about the media. They're asking questions. About you." Fear gripped him. What could they possibly want? He was just a young guy trying to make a name for himself. He took a deep breath, his thoughts racing. Then he remembered the keycard in his pocket. Maybe that little piece of plastic was more important than he realized. Unsure, he turned back to the board, their curiosity piqued. "I need a moment," he said, backing away from the table. He felt defiant, breaking away from the intensity. He stepped out to face whatever waited outside, his heartbeat drumming in his ears. As he emerged into the lobby, the energy was electric. Cameras clicked and voices rang out from every direction. "Jordan," one reporter shouted, shoving a microphone in his face. He paused, feeling cornered. What rumors? His mind was racing with questions and worries. Words spilled out almost involuntarily. Well, we've been focused on innovation," he said, searching for something to anchor him. But the questions continued. What about Amanda Jenkins? Another voice cut through the clamor. Amanda Jenkins, the name twisted in his mind. The keycard, the clue had come from a world he had no part in. He felt sweat forming on his brow. "I'm not really aware of her involvement," he stammered, confusion rising. The media's hunger for answers only intensified, fueled by sensation. One reporter pressed, jabbing at the heart of the matter that Jordan knew little about. The wave of inquiries crashed over him, and he felt himself starting to drown. Then it hit him. Suddenly, everything began to fit together. The media frenzy outside, the keycard he had found. Were they linked? Had there been a mishap involving Amanda? Without realizing it, he clutched the card tightly in his hand again. Maybe returning it could clear the air, give him some leverage. "Excuse me," he said abruptly, cutting through the noise. The reporters exchanged glances, looking momentarily taken aback. One journalist spat. "I just need to know," he replied firmly, surprising himself with how strong he sounded. "I want to address that question." Behind the sea of people, a woman stepped forward. She had the look of a professional, but her eyes had a weary light, a hint of someone who had seen too many fights. "Jordan, I can help, just a second," he interjected. He pulled the keycard from his pocket, holding it high for everyone to see. This was lying on the ground outside. The crowd quieted for a moment. It was a vulnerability, revealing the personal connection to a world that was spiraling out of control. The murmurs began, a mental shift taking place. A voice asked from the back. "Yes," Jordan said, now firmly in the moment. "I'm not afraid to take a loss or admit ignorance." With that, the passionate journalist's glare shifted to one of curiosity. "Are you saying you'll be honest from here on out?" He nodded, adrenaline coursing through him. There it was, the acceptance of his role in this mad dance. "It's all I can be," he admitted, looking into the faces waiting for his affirmation. Another journalist called out, excitement creeping back into the air. Jordan felt a strange kind of relief wash over him, recognizing that this moment didn't just belong to him, but to everyone invested in the truth. No longer an isolated pitch, it had become the opening of a larger conversation. And just like that, the pressure eased off his shoulders. Whatever the outcome, he realized he didn't have to shoulder this burden alone. He was part of something bigger, something real. With courage rising inside him, Jordan turned to the small crowd of reporters, the tension dissolving to a fresh resolve. "Let's work together, let's find the answers," he said, his voice steady. As the crowd shifted to banter and anticipation, he felt the keycard slip from his fingers. The energy pulsed through him. It was no longer just a card, it was a door, a moment, a connection. Today he would make it count. The city buzzed with energy as Jordan stepped out of his yellow cab, the sun creeping over the skyline like a golden promise. He glanced at his watch, only 10 minutes until the big meeting. The air held a hint of tension, a current that seemed to weave between people rushing by, each on a mission of their own. But today, Jordan felt the weight of expectation, the kind that could crush you if you weren't careful. Walking briskly to the shimmering glass entrance of Evergreen Technologies, he adjusted his tie, mentally rehearsing the pitch that could change everything for him. Excitement and anxiety danced in his stomach. He was about to present a groundbreaking idea, a service designed to revolutionize the tech industry, in front of the board. This could elevate him from just another employee to a key player in the game. Just as he reached the lobby doors, something caught his eye on the polished floor. A bright red keycard lay abandoned, glimmering like a small treasure against the grayscale marble. He bent down to pick it up, curiosity piquing his interest. The card bore the name Amanda Jenkins, a name that had buzzed around the office, though he didn't know much about her. Who is she, and why did she drop this? He looked around, hoping to see someone who might be looking for it, but the lobby was busy with people chattering and checking their phones, oblivious to the piece of tangible evidence lying there. Maybe it was a part of the resignation drama that had rocked the office in the past few days. News had been swirling about layoffs and internal strife. Just holding the card sent a shiver of intrigue through him. Should he return it or keep it? Thoughtful frown, Jordan stuffed the card into his pocket. The elevator dinged, revealing a small crew of board members waiting for him. The pressure mounted again, morphing any casual excitement into hard steel. Real lives were on the line today. He stepped inside the elevator, pressing the button for the top floor where dreams, fears, and decisions collided. As the door slid shut, he felt the walls closing in. His mind turned back to the keycard. What if it meant something more than he realized? Perhaps Amanda was tangled in whatever was about to unfold, and by holding onto her card, he was tying himself to it all. The elevator creaked to a halt, and the doors opened to reveal the boardroom looming ahead. He stepped into the room, ready to face the wolves. Their expressions ranged from skepticism to curiosity. He began his presentation, pouring every bit of passion into his words. He painted a vivid picture of innovation, growth, and risk, the stakes feeling higher with every breath. But just as he reached the climax of his speech, a sharp knock interrupted, sending a ripple of confusion through the room. One of the office assistants peeked in, her eyes wide. Jordan, there's the media. His heart raced. The media, why were they here? Questions tumbled through his mind like a chaotic storm. Could he handle this? Was today really the day for scrutiny and speculation? He asked, trying to keep his voice steady. He didn't want anyone to see how rattled he felt, but he saw the puzzled looks on the faces of the board members. He knew they could sense his growing anxiety. It's about the company and a woman named Amanda Jenkins, she added, her voice trembling slightly. Amanda Jenkins, the Keycard's name echoed in his mind, a bell tolling. Had they found something? Were they linking her to the layoffs, or, God forbid, something worse? He took a deep breath and faced the board. I'll be right back, he stated, voice firm even though fear licked at the edges of his resolve. As he stepped out of the boardroom, the air shifted. The lobby was alive with sound like a growing storm that hummed with anticipation. Cameras clicked and microphones were thrust forward like spears. Jordan, a reporter, shouted, her voice sharp. He felt the collective gaze of the media sharpen into focus, zeroing in on him like hawks. The sudden attention sent his stomach twisting. I have no comments on that right now, he said, hoping to slip past, but the questions came flooding in, drowning him in noise. What can you tell us about Amanda Jenkins? The name rang in the air, becoming a heavy weight. How did they know about her? What did he even know? Was this just bad timing, or could it unravel something bigger? He started, but words faltered. He could feel energy crackling around him, tension building like a coiled spring. The cameras were relentless, and for a moment he remembered the keycard in his pocket. It felt almost like a talisman now, and he wondered if it would provide answers or just lead him deeper into the woods. Before he could think, he pulled the card from his pocket, holding it high for everyone to see. I found this keycard lying on the floor earlier. A murmur rippled through the gathered crowd. His gaze darted to the reporters, watching them react with intrigue. Wait, you found it? Another voice asked, as questions exploded like a fireworks display. He felt buoyed by the attention, but also nervous. This could either clear the air or deepen the mystery. I want to get to the bottom of this, he declared. Let's figure out what's going on. The murmurs faded slightly, replaced by exchanging glances between reporters and the intrigued board members peeking through the door. The uncertainty hung in the air like fog, thick and unnerving. Then a woman emerged from the crowd. Her demeanor was confident, but her eyes showed fatigue as if she'd been running a marathon of her own. If you found the card, I can help clear some things up, she said, stepping closer. Jordan asked, his heart pounding, each beat echoing with questions. I'm part of HR. She was on the chopping block, but it's not official yet. The media caught wind of it. This could explode into something much bigger if it doesn't get contained, she explained, urgency threading her voice. Jordan felt a rush of empathy, but also a swell of anger. Life was no game, and people were not just collateral damage in corporate wars. His heart raced, and he turned to the reporters again. Look, I can't comment on anything without finding out more. The cameras seemed to blink in a synchronized effort, capturing every second, every nuance of his response. The atmosphere shifted. This wasn't just about him now. It was about choices, consequences, and fear wrapped up in corporate greed. He suddenly felt compelled to reclaim his narrative. I want to speak on behalf of my colleagues, not just share rumors, he said, finding strength in vulnerability. I'm not afraid to admit that I care about my team. The room buzzed with fresh energy, each head turning back to him, caught off guard by his honesty. It was more than a pitch. This was a moment that transcended business. Suddenly, a roar of questions erupted again. One reporter shouted, and Jordan could see their eyes lighting up with the thrill of a story unraveling. His original intent to pitch his idea shifted into something more profound. As he stood amidst the chaos, he thought about the keycard resting in his palm. It felt like a key to a locked door, one that opened not just into the world of corporate strategy, but into deeper human connections. This was about saving jobs, not just pitch decks and bottom lines. Let's find Amanda. Let's talk to her, he declared, holding the card high. The determination in his voice rang true and sincere. I'll gather the facts and report back. A wave of whispers traveled through the crowd. He saw the interest, the faint beginnings of respect emerging in the eyes looking back at him. This wasn't just a fight anymore, it was a movement. A journalist asked, excitement bubbling in her tone, almost as if she was rooting for him. The weight of his ambition shifted into a purpose bigger than himself. Nominal achievements faded to the background as he hugged the keycard closely once more. Absolutely, he replied, strong and bold. He turned to the HR rep beside him, determination alight in his gaze. Let's go find Amanda. With a nod, they moved forward, stepping through the sea of media chaos into a world where the line between corporate and human connections blurred. As they navigated the thrumming energy looking for Amanda, Jordan felt a curious thrill rise within him, a sense that today would shape not just his future, but potentially save someone else's. In that vibrant moment, he realized he had the power to unlock more than just doors. He could unleash the truth, and in doing so, he would forever change the way he viewed risk, responsibility, and the real connections formed in the heart of tumultuous times. Today was going to matter, and he was ready to face whatever lay ahead. The morning air was thick with tension as Jordan sprinted down the sidewalk, his heart pounding in his chest. One wrong move and everything he'd worked for could come crashing down. He was late. A critical meeting loomed ahead, and this wasn't just another pitch. This was the moment that could catapult his career into the stratosphere. He glanced down, his shoes barely missing a glimmering object on the ground. A bright red keycard lay abandoned, shining like a beacon against the asphalt. Curiosity piqued, he bent down and picked it up. The name Amanda Jenkins was stamped on its surface, and he wondered who she was. Did she work for his company? Was she a part of the recent upheaval that had rattled the office? Pushing that thought aside, he slipped the keycard into his pocket and hurried toward the towering office building of Evergreen Technologies. He focused on the task at hand. His groundbreaking project was ready for its debut, and he had poured every ounce of his creativity into it. Each step felt urgent, as if his very future depended on it. As he entered the sleek lobby, a wave of nervous energy washed over him. The receptionist greeted him with a bright smile, but Jordan hardly noticed. His mind was racing, considering every possible question the board members might throw at him. He took a deep breath, counting down the moments until he would stand before them and unveil his plan. But just as he was about to step into the elevator, he paused. Something didn't feel right. He turned, glancing back at the entrance, and that's when he noticed them, the media. A huddle of reporters stood outside, cameras flashing, microphones ready. The weight of their attention settled on his shoulders, an ominous cloud darkening his resolve. Jordan. One reporter shouted, their voice cutting through the fray. What do you know about Amanda Jenkins? The word fired hung in the air like a heavy bell tolling, reverberating through his mind. He had only just found the keycard. How did they know Amanda's name? Slowly, panic began to creep in, tightening like a vice. Jordan's heart raced as he realized the keycard could tie him to whatever scandal was brewing outside. His thoughts spiraled. Did he really want to be part of this chaos? Was he ready for the media spotlight? He had come here for a chance to present his vision, not to be pulled into a storm of speculation and intrigue. Turning back toward the elevator was tempting, but he felt the heat of the reporters closing in. Taking a deep breath, he decided to step out into the chaos, fully knowing he might already be in over his head. As the elevator doors slid shut behind him, he faced the onslaught. Jordan, what about the rumors surrounding the layoffs? Another voice probed, loud and demanding. His mind raced against the clock, searching for some semblance of a response, but the questions cracked like whips, each one puncturing his resolve. I'm not sure what's happening with Amanda, he tried, his voice shaky but steady. The media's eyes lit up, each reporter suddenly vying for his attention, pressing even closer, hungry for a scoop. He felt a surge of adrenaline, like a soldier caught in battle without a weapon. They wanted answers he didn't have, and it occurred to him how easily this could go sideways. Is it true that layoffs are coming? The questions pelted him like rain. He gripped the red keycard in his pocket, its presence somehow grounding him. In a moment of instinct, he pulled it out and held it in front of him like a shield. This keycard belongs to Amanda Jenkins, he said, voice rising. I found it earlier today. The cameras clicked furiously, capturing the spontaneity of the moment. The reporters shifted, surprised by this unexpected twist. Jordan felt a flicker of power in his vulnerable stance, and he suddenly understood that wading into this mess could offer him an angle, a chance to be a voice when so many were simply hoping for headlines. A reporter asked, eyes bright with intrigue. Yes, he replied, feeling the rush of conviction. I'll stand up for anyone who's about to lose their job without a proper explanation. A wave of murmurs surged among the journalists, their interest palpable. This was more than a quote, it was a statement, a spark of rebellion against the status quo. As the crowd shifted, Jordan caught a glimpse of the HR representative from earlier. She was watching him, her expression shifting from concern to something resembling admiration. Jordan, she called out, edging closer through the throng. I can confirm that Amanda's situation hasn't been finalized. His eyes brightened, there it was, clarity in the chaos. Great, he turned back to the reporters, feeling a surge of bravery mixed with urgency. A heap of questions continued to barrage him, but he pressed forward. Let's all remember that in times like this, it's more than just a job. The energy snapped into something both electric and tense. The reporters were engrossed now, focused on his words, eager to unveil the deeper stories behind the headlines. In that moment, Jordan felt different, a warrior fighting for not just his own ambitions, but for the dignity of those affected. Someone shouted amid the clamor. I found it as I was rushing here today, he admitted, unable to mask the truth. It made me realize how quickly things can change. The cameras captured every word, every shift in his voice, and he felt the room leaning in, captivated by his authenticity. Jordan wiped his palms on his trousers, nerves still prickling but determination rising like a flame within him. That's why I'll keep searching for the truth. With those words, he felt a swell of courage push him forward. He wanted to reach out, to pull Amanda into this narrative, to make it personal. Another reporter broke in. What if Amanda is laid off? His throat tightened. Would he risk his own standing to stand behind her? The truth settled like a stone in his gut, heavy but resolute. I believe in protecting our colleagues, he replied. The pressure surged, and a ripple of solidarity washed over the growing crowd. For the first time, he felt like he wasn't just defending Amanda. He was fighting for a message that resonated with everyone. Before he knew it, he turned back to the HR woman, his voice firm. Can we get Amanda here now? We deserve answers, and we can't let fear dictate our actions. The HR representative nodded, almost astonished. Without hesitation, she pulled out her phone, dialing quickly to summon Amanda. Jordan turned back to the reporters, anchored in his newfound resolve. I'm ready to face whatever comes our way. At that moment, a round of applause erupted from a few onlookers who had gathered to watch the scene unfold. It echoed through the lobby, filling him with unexpected warmth. Maybe this was bigger than just his career. It had transformed into a movement, and now he wasn't just a participant, but a leader. A few moments later, footsteps echoed in the hallway, and Amanda Jenkins appeared, looking disheveled yet fierce. The moment their eyes met, something unspoken surged through the air. They were connected by this whirlwind of chaos. She asked, breathless and wide-eyed, as the reporters thrust their microphones toward her. He stepped forward, placing a protective hand on her shoulder. We're trying to clear the air. You deserve a chance to speak, Amanda. The media's attention intensified, and Amanda found her footing, evident in her posture. I had no idea people were concerned, she said, voice steadying, eyes flickering with a mix of gratitude and fear. Together we can navigate this strange storm, Jordan reassured her, glancing at the crowd. With that, Amanda stepped into the forefront, her presence commanding. She took a deep breath and faced the cameras. Thank you for being here. I appreciate the support. I don't want to be part of the layoffs just like anyone else, she said, her voice gaining strength as she spoke. In that moment, something shifted in the atmosphere. It became a brewing tide of stories, struggles, and shared resilience. The reporters shifted from pouncing wolves to curious listeners, eager to capture the arc of their journey, the human emotions behind the scandal. As questions poured in, the three of them stood united, a team amidst adversity. Jordan realized that the keycard, once a mere object, had become a symbol of empowerment, connection, and hope. It was a reminder of the importance of standing up for what mattered. The tumultuous crowd buzzed, their anticipation palpable. This wasn't just about rumors or the corporate world anymore. It was about the people behind the roles. Jordan felt like he had stepped into a different reality, where the chaos transformed into a platform for change. In a world where decisions were often made without a thought to the impacts on individuals, standing together felt revolutionary. And as he looked around at the faces illuminated by the light of their shared experience, he felt a fierce gratitude. Today, the world didn't just belong to numbers or statistics. Today, they were human stories, connected by a single keycard and a fierce desire to protect one another. With every passing moment, hope ignited like a fire, a beacon that shone brightly amidst uncertainty. The air became thick with possibilities, and nothing felt impossible. And through the noise and the chaos, one thing became clear. Today was not just about survival. It was about the strength to advocate for each other. In that impactful moment, Jordan stepped into his role, not just as an employee, but as a voice for change. And together, with Amanda by his side, he was ready to turn the tide, one keycard at a time. The cab screeched to a halt, and Jordan leaped out, feeling the adrenaline racing through his veins. He had just minutes before the most important meeting of his career. With his heart thumping like a drum, he dashed across the bustling sidewalk. The sun was high, casting long shadows from the city's skyscrapers, but Jordan felt only the weight of expectation pressing down on his shoulders. As he hurried, something sparkled on the ground. There, lying half-covered by a fallen leaf, was a bright red keycard. He paused, curiosity flickering in his chest. The name Amanda Jenkins was written in bold letters across the front. He wondered who she was and why her card was abandoned in such a busy area. He picked it up and tucked it into his jacket pocket, his thoughts momentarily distracted from his meeting. Maybe he could return it later, but time was of the essence. Shaking off the lingering curiosity, he sprinted toward the entrance of Evergreen Technologies, a place where dreams shaped reality and where today could be the day everything changed for him. As he stepped into the sleek lobby with its gleaming marble floors and minimalist decor, a flood of uneasy excitement coursed through him. He approached the reception desk, where a friendly receptionist offered him a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Good luck in there, Jordan," she said. He nodded, grateful for her encouragement but too focused to appreciate it. The atmosphere in the lobby shifted suddenly when Jordan spotted a group of reporters gathered just outside the glass doors, cameras ready, microphones poised like arrows waiting to be shot. His stomach churned. Why were they here? A knot of dread began to tighten in his gut. He stepped into the nearest elevator, desperately pushing the button for the top floor. The doors closed, blocking out the outside world, but his heart raced as he wondered what was going on that required the spotlight. A low murmur of anxious anticipation filled the small space, but he kept his breathing steady. Focus, he told himself. This meeting was too important to be distracted. As the elevator dinged, he stepped out into the corridor, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. The boardroom loomed ahead, but a sharp knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. The company assistant peeked in, her face pale. She said, hesitating as if weighing her words, "The media is asking about Amanda Jenkins." A chill ran down his spine. How did they know about Amanda? The keycard felt heavy in his pocket, a strange weight as he processed the implications. He began, then stopped. The room felt like it was closing in around him. "Can it wait, Jordan? It's urgent," she urged. He took a deep breath, feigning calmness. As he turned, the knot in his stomach tightened, twisting into something darker. Why was Amanda's name surfacing now? Had there been rumors swirling around the company again? The air grew heavier with anticipation, but today was supposed to be about him, not the chaos of the outside world. Determined to stay focused, he pushed open the door to the boardroom. The sharp scent of polished wood mingled with faint traces of coffee lingering in the air. The board members sat around the long table, their faces a mix of curiosity and skepticism. They had been waiting, eyes locked on him, expecting brilliance. "Good morning, everyone," he began, his voice steady despite the tension inside him. He launched into his pitch, detailing a revolutionary approach that could reshape their market presence. He was confident, he could feel the passion coursing through every word, but just as he reached the climax of his presentation, the door swung open, interrupting him once again. This time it was the head of PR. "Jordan, we need you outside." The room held its breath as Jordan felt time slow. His heartbeat pounded in his ears. "I need to finish my pitch," he managed, although the words felt hollow even to him. "Jordan," she implored, urgency in her voice. With a reluctant nod, he stepped back from the boardroom, feeling his confidence falter like a light flickering in an electrical storm. As he emerged into the lobby, the scene outside exploded in a flurry of flashing cameras and frantic reporters, each eager for a story, hungry for a juicy headline. "Jordan," one shouted, shoving a microphone at him as if it were a weapon. "I don't," he started, but there was barely a moment to gather his thoughts. Another voice interjected. The questions merged into a chaotic cacophony that threatened to drown him. He inhaled deeply, grasping at any thread of clarity. "I can't speak about Amanda," but they didn't let up. The inquiries continued, sharp and relentless, each question pulling him deeper into a tangled web of uncertainty. What was happening in the company? Did Amanda's name truly resonate so strongly that it drew the media's attention? Felt a spark of rebellion ignite as he thought of the keycard, still nestled in his pocket. It was a bridge, a connection to someone whose life could be affected by whatever turmoil was brewing. "I found this keycard earlier today," he announced, realizing it might be time to take control of the conversation. He pulled it out, waving it in the air. The reporters shifted, their eyes lighting up with curiosity. One shouted, pushing his microphone closer. He replied, heart racing, "I found it just outside." Suddenly, the chaos around him paused, the media intrigued by his unexpected stand. There was a shift in the atmosphere. He wasn't just another corporate drone now. He was a human voice calling for fairness and respect. Someone called from the back. "I'm not sure yet," he admitted, feeling the weight of the keycard in his hand. "But we can't let people's lives be treated like numbers on a spreadsheet." To his surprise, murmurs of agreement started to ripple through the gathered crowd. This was becoming more than just a chance to save a colleague. It transformed into a quest for accountability. The HR representative was pushing her way through the chaos, her face filled with resolve. "Jordan, we can help. Let's talk to her," she shouted, urgency lacing her words. He turned to face her, feeling a sudden surge of hope. Maybe they could turn this around. He waved to the cameras, feeling a spark in the depths of his courage. "Yes, let's get Amanda in here." The media buzzed, questions blending with anticipation. There was a collective energy as the promise of transparency lingered in the air. Just when everything seemed to fall into place, Jordan felt his phone vibrate in his pocket. He pulled it out, glancing at the screen. A message from Amanda flashed urgently. "I'm in trouble." His heart raced. This wasn't just a job for Jordan anymore, this was personal. He turned back to the crowd, fueled by urgency. "We're going to find Amanda and we're going to help her get her voice back." The reporter's interest only intensified, cameras shifting to capture every moment. Jordan felt powerful, standing there as the tide turned in his favor. Finally, he could become the advocate he dreamed of being, not just for Amanda, but for anyone whose life was being upended. Jordan's pulse quickened as he made his way to the building exit, the media following in a thin line behind him. One reporter yelled, but he pressed on, determined. "Outside," he yelled back, his voice rising over the noise. As he pushed through the doors, the bright sunlight startled him, momentarily blinding him. But as his eyes adjusted, he spotted Amanda standing a few feet away, her face taut with worry. For a brief moment, time froze. He called, waving her over. The reporters initially hesitated, sensing the shift. Then they surged forward, eager to grasp the unfolding drama. Amanda stepped towards Jordan, her expressions of fear melting into appreciation as their eyes met. She asked, her voice trembling yet strong. "We're standing with you," Jordan replied, holding up the keycard. This means you deserve to be heard." The cameras were rolling, capturing the moment. One reporter pushed, his question sharp. Let's just say that I'm tired of corporate politics hurting people, Amanda responded, her voice gaining strength as she spoke. This isn't just about my job, it's about every person impacted by fear and uncertainty. A wave of applause arose from the crowd, uniting them in a common purpose. The media shifted from opportunistic vultures to interested participants, intrigued by the transformation unfolding before them. In that moment, Jordan felt tethered to something bigger than himself. He was part of a movement pushing back against the cold machinery that governed their lives. Standing shoulder to shoulder with Amanda, he realized that today wasn't just a lesson in corporate strategy. It was a call to arms for empathy and humanity. As they navigated through the sea of cameras and microphones, Jordan couldn't shake the sense of empowerment coursing through him. Every question felt like an opportunity to shine a light on the darkness, and he wasn't afraid to grab hold of that moment. Amanda turned to the growing crowd. They shouted back, voices melding into a powerful chorus of solidarity. The meeting Jordan had dreaded morphed into something unexpected, a crucible of change. Here, he wasn't merely making a pitch for a project, but speaking to hearts and minds, encouraging a shift in how they treated one another in the workplace. As the media continued to capture every moment, he felt the world outside the bubble of corporate life begin to shift, echoing a message that every single person mattered, every keycard, every job, every life had value. And as he stood there, anchored in this chaotic harmony, Jordan knew he wouldn't just advocate for Amanda, but for every person stuck in a cycle of fear. Today, they forged a bond that transcended the title on a business card or the numbers on a financial report. Today, they became allies in a fight for humanity. The energy pulsed, the vibrations of change echoing around them, and in that moment he felt invincible, armed not just with a keycard, but with conviction. Together, they were ready to open doors that had long been locked, and every step forward promised a newfound hope for countless others. The day started like any other in the bustling city, with the sun casting rays that danced on glass buildings. Jordan stepped out of the cab, feeling the electrifying pulse of ambition course through him. Today was big, very big. He had spent months preparing for this moment, crafting a pitch that he believed would change everything. As he hurried toward the entrance of Evergreen Technologies, something glimmered beneath his feet. He glanced down and saw a bright red keycard lying on the pavement, half covered by a fallen leaf. Curiosity tugged at him. He bent down and picked it up, noticing the name Amanda Jenkins written on the card. Jordan didn't know her, but his instincts kicked in. He wondered if it was important, should he find her and return it, but time was ticking. He shoved the keycard into his pocket and pressed on, determined to reach the lobby before anyone noticed he was late. Entering the sleek building felt like entering a world of promises. The air was thick with ambition. The receptionist greeted him with a smile, though he could see the hints of nerves in her eyes. "You're just in time," she said, glancing toward the boardroom. He nodded, fighting a swirl of anxiety in his stomach. He had a presentation to deliver, a chance to showcase his innovative idea for customer engagement that could put him on the map. This was his moment, but just as he was about to step into the elevator, he felt a shift in the atmosphere. Something was off. He looked through the glass doors and noticed a group of reporters outside, cameras clicking, microphones poised and ready. His breath caught in his throat. Jordan. One of the reporters shouted, their voice breaking through the hum of the lobby. The urgency in the air prickled his skin. What did they want? Why were they here? He turned back to the elevator, but hesitated. What if this was related to the keycard he had found? A rush of thoughts cascaded through his mind, weaving a knot of unease. Should he ignore them and continue to focus on his pitch, or did he need to address whatever storm was brewing outside? Taking a deep breath, he finally stepped back out. The noise of the crowd swelled around him, voices vying for his attention. One reporter shouted, jamming a microphone toward him. He fumbled for words, feeling the heat of the spotlight on him. "I have no comment," he managed, hoping to escape. But the questions continued to rain down, each one more aggressive than the last. What about the layoffs? Jordan's heart sank. The name Amanda Jenkins echoed ominously in his ears. He could feel panic rising in his throat. Everyone around him was on edge, the tension palpable. Was his career about to be overshadowed by corporate drama? Trying to regain control, he pulled the keycard from his pocket. "I found this," he said, holding it aloft. "This is Amanda's keycard. I found it outside." The atmosphere shifted, and he could see the reporters' expressions change as they realized this wasn't just another story. It was deeply personal. A robust voice asked, clearly captivated. Jordan stammered, trying to think. A buzz of murmurs spread through the media crowd. The energy shifted from frantic questions to intrigue. For a moment, it felt like he had their attention, and they were listening not just to respond, but to understand. One journalist pressed, now more interested in the story behind the card than the layoffs themselves. "I'm standing up for anyone who's trying to maintain their livelihood," he replied passionately, heart racing. The cameras snapped wildly, documenting every word. Jordan could hardly believe what he was saying. Was he really prepared to become the face of a movement? But before he could think too much about it, a figure pushed her way through the crowd. It was the HR manager, a woman he recognized from internal meetings. Her eyes were wide with concern, but also a hint of solidarity. "Jordan, we need to talk," she said, urgency lacing her voice. He turned to her, desperate for answers. "What's going on?" "We've had rumors about layoffs that have spiraled out of control," she explained, glancing nervously at the reporters. "And Amanda was one of those affected." Jordan felt his stomach drop. What did that mean for Amanda? His gaze found the keycard again, and an idea bloomed in his mind, a flicker of hope. "Let's get her in here." The HR manager hesitated, a flicker of fear crossing her face. "I'll try to reach her," she said, pulling out her phone. As she made the call, Jordan could feel the reporters' eyes on him, each camera capturing the tension in the air. He could almost hear the gears turning in their minds. This was a story unfolding, and the balance of power was shifting. The HR manager exclaimed, her voice rising. He nodded, heart pounding. There was no turning back now. He stepped forward, feeling the energy crackle around him. "I'll do whatever it takes to give Amanda a voice," he said, facing the cameras with resolve. "And I want everyone here to know that we're fighting for fairness." The crowd took a collective breath, as if absorbing the weight of his words. It wasn't just about the pitch anymore, it was about standing up for what was right. The room pulsed with tension, but something incredible began to bubble beneath it, a sense of unity. A reporter shouted. He took a moment, glancing down at the keycard in his hand. "Honestly, I don't care about my position right now." His admission hit the air like a bolt of lightning. There was something refreshing about the authenticity of his words. A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd, journalists momentarily silenced. It felt like a dramatic turning point, a moment when individual courage could inspire collective strength. Then he saw her. Amanda emerged from the building, flanked by the HR manager, her expression a mix of fear and determination. The buzz died down, replaced by a quiet anticipation as she approached. He called, holding out the keycard. She took it from him with a trembling hand, her eyes widening slightly. Asked, her voice shaky yet defiant. "Everything," he replied, feeling the urgency rise within him. "Right now, you're part of something bigger than this office. We want to fight for you, for everyone affected by these rumors." The media's attention snapped back to her, eager to capture the moment as she processed what he was saying. There was strength in vulnerability, resilience in facing the crowd. "I appreciate the support," Amanda said, her voice gaining confidence, "but I want to know why I was targeted." The questions came flooding in again, but this time they felt different, as if they were hungry for a deeper connection, a truth hidden beneath the surface. "Let's open the discussion," Jordan urged, the weight of the moment settling on him. Jordan stood beside Amanda, pulling from the courage she radiated. The atmosphere vibrated with a sense of urgency. This was a chance for change, a chance to challenge the status quo. "Today isn't just about layoffs or rumors," he declared. The crowd began to stir, and for the first time in a long time, a sense of unity forged itself within the community. The reporters shifted from merely covering a story to becoming part of a movement advocating for change. A journalist turned to Amanda and asked, "Would you be willing to share your story with us?" "Yes," Amanda said firmly. In that moment, all fear seemed to dissolve. Jordan felt a swell of hope blossoming in his chest as they stepped into the light together, two voices melding into one message. "Let's fight for humanity in the workplace," he added, raising his fist for emphasis. A chorus of excited murmurs rose from the crowd, and he knew they were united in their commitment to this cause. As the cameras clicked, capturing every moment, it became clear. Today was not just about a dropped keycard or corporate layoffs, it was about changing lives. Standing there with Amanda, an unexpected ally forged through adversity, Jordan felt alive in a way he hadn't anticipated when he woke up that morning. This journey had transformed him, showing him that every challenge could lead to something beautiful if approached with courage and compassion. And as they faced the cameras together, a bright new chapter seemed to unfold. A chapter where they would fight not just for themselves, but for every voice that had been silenced, every keycard that had been dropped, and every life that deserved respect and dignity. Today might have started as a typical day, but through the serendipity of unexpected events, it was becoming an extraordinary movement, one rooted in the belief that people matter and every story is worth telling. Jordan stepped out of the cab, the clang of the door echoing against the thick glass walls of Evergreen Technologies, the company that had been both his dream and his battleground. Today was the day he would present his long-cherished project, a groundbreaking idea that could elevate him from just another employee to a key player in the tech world. As he strode forward, an unexpected flash of color caught his eye. On the sidewalk, half buried beneath a discarded coffee cup, lay a bright red keycard. He bent down and picked it up, the glossy surface smooth against his fingers. The name Amanda Jenkins gleamed in bold letters. His first instinct was to find the card's owner, but just then his phone buzzed in his pocket, a reminder for the meeting. With a quick decision, he shoved the card into his jacket and pushed through the revolving doors of the building, the familiar scent of polished wood and fresh coffee greeting him. As he entered the lobby, the calm atmosphere contrasted sharply with the storm of thoughts swirling in his mind. But this was his moment. He had prepared for months, and nothing would distract him. Just as he was about to step into the elevator, he looked back and noticed something that sent a chill down his spine. A group of reporters gathered outside, cameras poised and ready, their eyes trained on him like hawks. Why were they here? A knot formed in his stomach. The questions gnawed at him, a distraction he couldn't afford right now. Jordan, a voice cut through the crowd. It was one of the reporters, a determined look on her face. The media rarely visited for good news, and now he felt a wave of dread washing over him. Another one shouted, laid off employees. The mention hit him hard. His thoughts flashed to the keycard in his pocket. Amanda Jenkins, what was happening to her? He needed to get to the safety of the boardroom, away from the burning spotlight of the media. Forcing himself to turn away, he stepped into the elevator, pressing the button for the top floor. As the doors closed, he leaned against the cold metal wall, trying to calm the frantic beating of his heart. The media had arrived at a time that felt ominous, and now the shadows of anxiety clung to him like a fog. But as he ascended, a pulse of determination surged through him. This meeting was too important to let fear encroach. He had a vision to share a plan that could reshape their customer engagement strategy, a plan he had poured his soul into. Yet the question of Amanda gnawed at him. What if she was in trouble because of the company's choices? The elevator dinged and he stepped into the boardroom, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. The board members greeted him with stern expressions, some glancing skeptically at the notes in front of them. He took a deep breath, centering himself. This was it. "Good morning, everyone," he began, his voice steady, though he could still feel the tension humming beneath the surface. As he launched into the presentation, he felt the adrenaline kick in, propelling him through his points. He painted a vivid picture of growth and innovation, his passion infusing every word. But just as he reached the climax of his argument, a loud knock interrupted him. The head of PR entered, her face a mask of urgency. "Jordan, we have a situation outside." His heart dropped as if he had been punched in the gut. Amanda Jenkins, the name echoed in his mind, and the weight of the keycard in his pocket reminded him of the very real lives hanging in the balance. He asked, attempting to hold on to his composure. "No, it can't," she insisted. There it was again, the urgency, the pressure pressing down on him like a vice. The board members were watching him, judging. He felt torn between the project he had sacrificed so much for and the truth behind those media questions. Taking a deep breath, Jordan stepped out of the boardroom, feeling the cool air hit him like a splash of cold water. The lobby was alive with sound, the media buzzing, each reporter vying for a glimpse of him. Cameras flashed like lightning strikes, illuminating the tension in the air. "Jordan," one reporter shouted, pushing a microphone in his face. "I can't comment on that," he stammered, feeling panic rise within him. Another voice pressed, laced with urgency. For a moment he hesitated, the weight of the keycard heavy in his pocket. "I don't have the details," he managed, searching for an escape from the storm of questions, but then it hit him, he did know something. That keycard was a bridge to understanding, a way to connect to Amanda's situation. With a rush of courage, he pulled it from his pocket and held it high for everyone to see. "I found this on the ground earlier," he declared, feeling a surge of adrenaline. "It belongs to Amanda Jenkins." The reporters shifted, intrigued now by the sudden twist. They were hungry for a story, but he was ready to give them something real. This isn't just about numbers or layoffs, these are real lives we're talking about. The atmosphere shifted as people around him began to nod and murmur in agreement. It wasn't merely a corporate issue anymore, it was deeply personal. Each face in the crowd reflected a flicker of empathy. Suddenly, the HR manager emerged from the sea of cameras, her expression urgent. "Jordan, we need to bring Amanda in." Panic mixed with determination surged through him. Yes, that was exactly what they needed, a voice, an opportunity to clarify the chaos. "Yes," he echoed, relief flooding his chest. As the HR manager made her way back inside, Jordan turned back to the reporters, no longer feeling like he was on the defensive. This is about accountability. If anyone is facing layoffs, let's address it openly. His words hung in the air, filled with gravity. That was it, a clarity of purpose washed over him. He could feel the shift. The crowd was no longer just a passive audience. They were engaged, alive with the energy of the truth. As the HR manager ushered Amanda inside, she looked hesitant, her face etched with worry. But there was something defiant brewing beneath the surface, a fire kindling. She asked, glancing nervously at the cameras. "We're here to stand by you," he said, his voice strong as he stepped beside her. "We're addressing this together." Amanda took a deep breath, her courage palpable even in moments of uncertainty. "I didn't know if I'd still have my job when I came in this morning," she admitted, her voice steady but emotional. The reporters leaned in, captivated by her honesty. This was more than a press statement. It was a heartfelt message from one who had seen the front line of corporate decisions. Jordan felt a spark of pride as Amanda spoke. They stood together, two individuals intertwined by circumstance. A reporter called out, their curiosity piqued. "We need to put people first," Amanda replied, steadiness spilling from her. "We can't lose sight of the individuals behind the roles." As she spoke, a murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Jordan resonated with her strength, realizing they were wielding their voices, refusing to be silenced by an uncaring corporate machine. They stood united, Amanda and Jordan, confronting not just the media but the very essence of corporate accountability. They were not just two individuals facing a storm, they embodied a call to action. Another journalist pressed, a gleam of excitement in their eyes. Yes, both Jordan and Amanda replied together. Their harmony sent a wave of energy through the crowd, a surge of determination that was impossible to ignore. "We won't rest until we find clarity," Jordan added, feeling a sense of empowerment wash over him. In the frenzy, the media transformed from a pack of vultures to allies in their fight. The atmosphere crackled and the tide was changing. Doubts dissipated as courage took their place. Jordan decided to put the power of the Keycard to use. "We need to address the root of the issues." The HR manager nodded, eyes wide, as she saw the meaning behind his words. The walls of silence that had plagued the company were beginning to crumble as their cause took form. Amanda took a deep breath, bolstered by the support surrounding her. "Every employee deserves to be treated with dignity. I will not allow fear to dictate my worth," she exclaimed. The crowd sensed the shift in the air. This wasn't just about two people anymore. It was a wave of change that threatened to sweep through the corporate landscape. People rallied, their voices intertwining in a chorus of solidarity, employees and reporters alike grasping hold of the moment. As the media cameras rolled, Jordan and Amanda stood side by side, ready to face the world around them. They could almost feel the anticipation humming throughout the gathering. It was time to unfold a narrative steeped in integrity and compassion. "Today marks a new beginning," Jordan said, the gravity of the moment sinking in. The air crackled with energy, the truth illuminating paths once buried in shadows. Today wasn't just the day of a pitch or a press conference. It was a turning point that would redefine the boundaries of corporate responsibility. United in their quest for dignity and fairness, Jordan and Amanda smiled at one another. Whatever the future held, they would face it together, empowered by the knowledge that change was not just possible, but inevitable when people decided to stand up and be heard. They stepped forward into the camera's glare, no longer just employees or numbers on a spreadsheet, but powerful advocates for a future where every voice mattered. And in that moment, they knew they were not alone. Today was about change, a powerful reminder that every keycard picked up holds the potential to unlock doors to a brighter, more equitable future. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the bustling streets as Jordan stepped out of the cab. Today was a big day. He felt the familiar flutter of nerves in his stomach, but he pushed it aside. He had spent countless hours perfecting his presentation, and now all he needed to do was get to the office and deliver it. As he walked briskly along the sidewalk, a flash of color caught his eye. There, partially obscured by a small puddle, lay a bright red keycard. He bent down to pick it up, his curiosity piqued. The name Amanda Jenkins was written across the surface. He didn't recognize the name, but something about the card felt important. He pocketed it with the intention of finding its owner later, but time was ticking. He hurried toward the entrance of Evergreen Technologies, his mind racing with thoughts of the meeting ahead. This wasn't just another presentation. This could be the turning point in his career. He longed to prove himself, to show everyone that he had what it took to bring innovative ideas to life. The lobby was bustling, and as he approached the elevator, he noticed something unusual. Outside the building, a group of reporters had gathered, their cameras clicking and their eyes scanning the entrance. A wave of unease washed over him. Why were they here? Had something gone wrong? He pressed the elevator button, glancing back at the media gathering outside. "Jordan," a reporter's voice rang out sharply, slicing through the chatter of the crowd. Jordan felt a knot form in his stomach. Ignoring them wasn't an option, but he wasn't prepared for any questions either. He stepped into the elevator, trying to focus on the presentation buzzing in his mind. As the doors closed, he let out a slow breath, trying to steady himself, but the elevator ride felt longer than usual. The numbers counted down slowly, and he found himself worrying about the questions he might face. What were they after? Was there news regarding layoffs? Was Amanda Jenkins involved in something serious? The elevator dinged, and the door slid open to the executive floor, the air thick with professionalism. Jordan stepped into the boardroom, finding the members seated around the table, their expressions a mix of anticipation and skepticism. He cleared his throat, pushing the thoughts of the media and the keycard aside. "Good morning, everyone," he began, projecting his voice with confidence. He launched into his presentation, laying out his ideas with fervor. He spoke of innovation and growth, of paths and possibilities that could reshape their customer engagement. As he spoke, he felt the energy building, drawing the attention of the board, but just as he reached the pivotal moment in his pitch, the door swung open. It was the head of PR, a woman named Helen, whose face was taut with urgency. "Jordan, there's a situation outside." The room fell silent, and his heart sank. Amanda Jenkins. The name echoed in his head. He asked, his voice laced with anxiety. "No, it can't," Helen insisted, her gaze piercing. Jordan felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. He could feel the board members' eyes on him, measuring his resolve. He took a deep breath, fighting the surge of panic he felt. He turned back toward the door, sensing that whatever he was stepping into could derail everything he had worked for. As he walked out into the lobby, the noise from outside hit him like a wave. The media buzzed, cameras flashed, and voices clamored for attention. "Jordan," one reporter shouted, pushing a microphone toward him. He blurted out, desperately trying to escape the barrage of questions, but there was nowhere to hide. "Do you support the layoffs?" Another voice broke through. His heart raced. Raw emotions surged through him, fear, uncertainty, and a flicker of anger at the situation. Why did the media care so much about someone he barely knew? He felt another rush of panic as the reporters pressed closer. Just as he was about to retreat back inside, he remembered the keycard stashed in his pocket. It was his only connection to Amanda. Maybe it could ground him in this chaos. "I found this keycard," he called out, pulling it from his pocket. "It belongs to Amanda Jenkins." The crowd paused, surprised by the shift. Cameras clicked more furiously now, capturing his unexpected stand. The reporters moved closer, their interest piqued. One asked, shifting gears, "It means we're talking about real people," Jordan declared, feeling a surge of power flow through him. Amanda isn't just a name and a rumor. The murmurs spread through the crowd. He could feel their attention shifting from sensationalism to something deeper. Perhaps this couldn't turn into a complete disaster. Maybe he could guide the narrative in a way that honored those involved. The HR manager, who had been watching from the sidelines, stepped forward. "Jordan has a point," she interjected. Jordan nodded, heart racing. "Let's find Amanda and clear the air," he urged, feeling the tide shift as he grasped the keycard tightly. The crowd buzzed, journalists chattering among themselves as they processed the unfolding narrative. For the first time, it didn't feel as if they were simply following a story. They were part of something meaningful. Then, through the sea of reporters, Jordan spotted her. Amanda emerged, looking hesitant but resolute. Her eyes darted around, and he could see she felt the weight of what was happening. He beckoned her closer. He called, excitement mixing with urgency. She approached cautiously, still wearing that veil of apprehension. She asked, glancing nervously at the reporters. "Everyone needs to hear from you," Jordan replied, holding up the red keycard. "People need to know the truth," Amanda said, her voice gaining strength. The crowd stirred again, sensing the gravity of her words. The reporters straightened, cameras focused intensely on her. The journalist shouted, pressing for an answer. "I don't want to lose my job based on rumors," Amanda said firmly, her courage blossoming. "We need transparency about these decisions." As she spoke, Jordan felt pride swell within him. Here she was, holding her ground, and he was grateful for the opportunity to support her. This was no longer just about a coincidence with a keycard. This was about standing up for each other in the face of corporate apathy. Jordan glanced at the reporters who were taking notes, captivated by the authenticity playing out before them. "This isn't just a corporate issue, it's a human one," he asserted, glancing from Amanda back to the media. Amanda nodded, her gaze steady. "I refuse to be a victim of circumstances beyond my control." The momentum was building, and it felt palpable. The crowd was no longer just journalists, they were witnesses to something meaningful. As Amanda continued to express her thoughts, ambiguity began to fade and clarity took its place. Jordan saw the transformation happening not just in her, but in everyone around them. The reporters, initially there for juicy headlines, were now ready to capture a human story. One reporter asked, curiosity in their eyes. "Absolutely," Amanda replied, determination lighting up her expression. The air crackled with energy as this new narrative took hold. Jordan felt invigorated, buoyed by their resilience as they crafted a story that went beyond mere gossip. He turned to the audience, voice steady and clear. "We can't ignore these conversations any longer." The crowd responded with murmurs of agreement, pulling them closer into solidarity. The media buzzed with excitement, clearly hungry for the unfolding story. The fear that had gripped Jordan earlier transformed into empowerment, a fierce drive to advocate for real change. A reporter suddenly shouted, breaking through the energy. "Will you join Amanda in these discussions?" He didn't hesitate. "Absolutely," he affirmed. "This isn't just about Amanda's job." A wave of applause erupted from the gathered crowd, a mixture of journalists and onlookers who had begun to see the bigger picture. This was more than just a rumor or a layoff. This was about human dignity, community, and standing up against a culture of fear. As the media captured every moment, Jordan glanced at Amanda. Together, they had transformed a simple keycard into a powerful symbol of strength and support. They stood ready to face any waves that might follow, anchored by a sense of purpose that had been born from vulnerability. In that moment, the energy shifted once more, and Jordan felt grounded. He had arrived at the crossroads of ambition and empathy, and he knew he would carry this fire into every future challenge he faced. They weren't just fighting for Amanda, they were fighting for everyone who had felt the sting of indifference in the corporate landscape. As they framed their narrative, he felt hope swell. This small, dropped keycard had become the foundation for something extraordinary. Platform where real voices mattered, where change could begin. Today wasn't just a typical day at the office. It was a movement, a new chapter that they had the power to write together, and Jordan knew this was only the beginning. Together, they would open new doors, inviting others to step through and join them in the fight for better workplaces, a journey rooted in respect, hope, and unity. Jordan stepped out of the cab, the vehicle's engine roaring to life as he plunged into the bustling energy of the city. Today was crucial. He could feel a simmering mix of excitement and anxiety coursing through him. Not even a minute into his journey, he spotted something on the ground, a bright red keycard, half buried under a gum-stained sidewalk. Curiosity jolted him. He didn't recognize the name, but there was something about that card, glimmering in the daylight, that sent a shiver up his spine. Perhaps it was just a piece of plastic, but it felt significant. Without thinking too much about it, he slipped it into his pocket and continued toward the entrance of Evergreen Technologies. As he approached the sleek building, the atmosphere buzzed with the pulsing energy of ambition, yet something felt odd. He hesitated outside the glass doors. A crowd of reporters had gathered, cameras ready, eyes trained like hawks on the entrance. Jordan's pulse quickened. Why were they here? The knot in his stomach tightened. Suddenly, the thought of the keycard weighed heavier in his pocket. "Jordan," a voice rang out, cutting through the din. He stopped, heart racing, as he turned to see a reporter racing toward him, microphone in hand. There was urgency in her tone that made his skin crawl. "Is it true that layoffs are coming?" He froze. The media was already knee-deep in rumor. He felt a wave of panic, the keycard in his pocket feeling like a ticking time bomb. "No comment," he managed to say, backpedaling toward the entrance. The elevators felt like salvation, a place he could escape to gather his thoughts. But just as he reached for the elevator button, the head of HR stepped outside, her expression grave. "Jordan, you need to come with me." His heart dropped. Amanda Jenkins, the woman he had just thought of only moments ago, now a focal point of media scrutiny. He asked, his voice steady despite the turmoil within. She hesitated, her eyes darting back to the reporters who had begun to inch closer. Jordan nodded, adrenaline flooding his system. He couldn't let fear run the day. "Let's go," he said, determination fueling his next steps. He turned back to the media throng, feeling the weight of their gaze. Jordan called out, raising his voice above the clamor. He pulled out the red keycard, holding it up for everyone to see. "This belongs to Amanda Jenkins." Cameras flashed, capturing the moment as murmurs rippled through the crowd. They had shifted from reporters hunting for easy grabs to curious onlookers waiting for a deeper story. With the HR manager by his side, he stepped back inside the lobby, the world outside fading away momentarily. He asked, urgency creeping into his voice. "Just up ahead. We're bringing her in to address these rumors," she replied, leading him toward a smaller conference room tucked away from prying eyes. Mind was racing with possibilities. This could go any number of ways, and he felt a spark of hope intertwined with fear. They reached the conference room, a space that felt both intimate and tense. The walls were lined with glass, allowing light to flood in while still offering a semblance of privacy. Jordan glanced toward the HR manager, who nodded in encouragement just as Amanda stepped inside, her expression a mix of anxiety and resolve. The atmosphere shifted as she walked in, eyes scanning the room. She asked, her voice barely a whisper. She looked fierce and vulnerable all at once, and the sight galvanized him. "I wanted to make sure you had a chance to speak," he said, meeting her gaze. "The media is waiting outside, and they've latched onto your name." Jordan pulled out the keycard again, placing it on the table like an offering. "I found this earlier. It reminds me that behind every rumor there are real people affected." Amanda's eyes widened as she took in the gesture. "Thank you," she replied softly, emotion creeping into her voice. "I didn't expect this." A flicker of determination ignited in her eyes. As she spoke, Jordan felt the shift in the room. There was an invisible bond forming between them, stitched together by shared purpose and a sense of urgency. "We need to show the board and the media that we care," he stated, feeling more empowered by her words. "I'm ready," Amanda replied, the fire growing in her voice. Together, they stepped out of the conference room, ready to face the media storm. Jordan's heart raced as he prepared to stand alongside her. Walking back into the lobby felt like stepping onto a battlefield, the air thick with tension and anticipation. He could see the reporters gathering, the cameras alive with energy. "Jordan." A voice shouted, cutting through the noise. The questions erupted before they even had a chance to speak. "Are layoffs definitely happening?" He drew in a deep breath, feeling Amanda's presence beside him. This was their moment. "We're here to clarify the rumors," he began, his voice steady and loud. "We want to ensure that every employee is treated with respect." Around him, the crowd grew still, awaiting a deeper meaning. He could see interest brewing in the eyes of both reporters and onlookers alike. They weren't just after headlines anymore, they wanted to believe in something. "We're all part of a team," Amanda added, taking a step forward, her confidence radiating. "And we deserve to have our concerns addressed. I'm not just a name." As she spoke, Jordan felt the waves of empathy rolling through the crowd. Her vulnerability was a powerful weapon, disarming the tight grip of speculation. A reporter called, intent on catching the sparks of resolution. "Yes," Jordan replied, feeling the strength flow through the two of them. The applause erupted suddenly, spurred by the passion blooming in the air. Jordan and Amanda exchanged a glance, a mix of disbelief and gratitude at how things had shifted so quickly. But just then, a powerful voice rang out from the back of the crowd. "What about the board's decision?" The question hung ominously, and Jordan's heart sank. How could they ensure loyalty in a company that thrived on numbers, profit margins, and risk? The fear he had felt earlier began to creep back in, tainting the powerful momentum they had created. Amanda responded first, her voice unwavering. "We're not here to make enemies," she said, her determination palpable. "We're here to ensure that everyone feels heard." Jordan nodded, encouraged by her strength. It felt like they were building something monumental, brick by brick.